I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.
When the lights went out, but the stars didn't fall. June 2025. No breaking news. No flashbulbs. No screams. Just a long, heavy silence that wrapped Seoul like a fog no one saw coming. Two names, once thunderous in the sky, Jungkook and Taehyung, slipped into stillness. And somehow it is this silence that breaks louder than any farewell could. Taehyung, the man who chose to breathe. They expected him to return in fire. But he came back as a shadow, and then faded altogether. Taehyung, who once wore music like a second skin, stood at the edge of the industry and bowed out. Not angrily. Not bitterly. He just declined. Brand deals waited. Schedules were drafted. Global plans outlined. But all he said was no. And in a rare whisper captured behind velvet doors at a fashion shoot, he confessed, "There's more truth in walking away than in dancing for applause." No longer an idol on display. Just a man reclaiming silence. Jungkook, the ghost in the City of Angels. Almost in tandem, Jungkook's name disappeared from South Korea's entertainment orbit, only to reappear, softly, in Los Angeles. No statements. No goodbye post. Only movement. A leased home in Beverly Hills. Studio lights that burn all night. Quiet talks with producers no one has access to. Rumors of English lyrics, Western independence, new sounds not meant for charts, but for healing. He isn't fleeing. But he isn't coming back either. He's not lost. He's just becoming. HYBE's curtain of silence. And what does the agency say as their brightest stars dim? Each artist has the right to decide. But the world knows how to read between polite lines. That isn't reassurance. It's a whisper of panic dressed as professionalism. Insiders talk about meetings that go past midnight. Stock values twitch like nerves. Some claim crisis. Others claim evolution. But the truth is, no one really knows. Not even the company that thought it controlled the stars. A gentle rebellion in the dark. This isn't rebellion with fire. This isn't scandal. This is something more dangerous to a machine that feeds on performance. It's pause. It's stillness. It's two artists too tender for the brutality of the system finally saying, "No more. No more fake smiles. No more public puppeteering. No more being consumed." And in their quiet, they're louder than ever before. The army divided in their devotion. Online, chaos wears purple. Half of army waits faithfully, lighting candles of belief. The other half spirals through grief, fear, and desperate speculation. Is Jungkook building a new life? Is Taehyung battling shadows we can't see? Fan theories bloom like wildflowers. They're rebranding. They're escaping. They're done. But beneath all that noise, one truth remains. Something is ending. Or something is beginning. Maybe both. Not the end. But maybe the escape. Maybe we won't get a press release. Maybe this isn't a breakup, it's a breaking free. Taehyung, once the prince of melancholy, now walks away without turning back. Jungkook, once the golden boy, now chooses the unseen. They're no longer performing. They're living. And maybe this is the only way a legend survives, by refusing to be eaten by the very story it built. And you? The last verse is yours. The silence may ache, but it isn't empty. Because they've always told their truth through art, not interviews. Through pauses, not explanations. So here's the question they leave behind, not to answer but to feel. Will you love them when they're not in the spotlight? Will you stay when the stage is dark? Because maybe the most beautiful loyalty is not the kind that screams their name in arenas, but the kind that waits in the quiet. With no music playing, the stars did not fall. They simply chose to rest. And in that choice, maybe they're finally free. But silence is never truly empty. It echoes in strange ways, through the pause between YouTube notifications, through the sudden absence of new selfies, through the void left when someone you've never met stops showing up in your day. For many armies, it wasn't just about missing content. It was about missing rhythm. Jungkook and Taehyung had become part of life's breath. Without warning, the music paused. But life didn't. Some fans began replaying old V-Lives like prayers. Others clung to obscure clips, as if trying to decode a message in every blink, every sigh. And then there were those who whispered a theory that no one could disprove. Maybe they're talking, just not with words anymore. Because Jungkook's silence wasn't absence, it was presence, redefined. He was there in the empty streets of LA where fans claimed to see his shadow. In the piano instrumentals leaked online, so raw they couldn't be anyone else's. And Taehyung? His silence had always been loud. Even before the cameras, he was the kind of soul who let his stillness speak poetry. One fan wrote on Twitter, "I think he's not gone. I think he's just letting us feel what it's like to wait for someone who matters." Meanwhile, back in Korea, something strange began to happen at HYBE. The usual smiles wore thinner. The usual statements took longer. It was as if the company, so good at controlling stories, was suddenly caught in someone else's plot. Their biggest stars had taken their power back by doing nothing. No tantrums. No protests. No public demands. Just the kind of stillness that can only come from heartbreak or healing. Or maybe both. People outside the fandom didn't understand. "It's just a break," they said. "They'll come back," they nodded. But ARMYs knew better. They'd seen the look in Jungkook's eyes during his last solo stage. They'd read the melancholy in Taehyung's last post, where the caption simply read, "A garden doesn't always bloom, but it never stops growing." And so the fandom split into three tides. Those who waited in devotion. Those who mourned like something had died. And those who dared to believe this was a beginning disguised as an ending. Because if the world truly understood them, they would know. You don't have to disappear to leave. And you don't have to speak to say something. Sometimes the loudest love is the one that lets go. And sometimes the greatest act of resistance is rest. The echo after goodbye. After weeks of quiet, something changed, but not in the way people expected. There were no apologies. No comebacks announced. No "we're okay" selfies posted at midnight. But fans noticed something else. HYBE stopped speaking too. No more press releases. No curated content. As if the silence had spread, like a slow, compassionate surrender. And in its wake, a question lingered like perfume after someone leaves a room. What if this is not about breaking away from BTS, but about becoming BTS again on their own terms? Taehyung's world of slower time. Deep in the countryside, ARMYs began noticing subtle clues from fans living near Taehyung's rumored retreat. A bookstore owner said he had seen a tall, soft-eyed man come in every week, always buying poetry. A child claimed he played the flute by the river sometimes. And a retired painter swore that she once saw him staring at a mountain for hours, sketchbook unopened. Maybe this was the comeback Taehyung chose, not to stages but to self, not to millions but to meaning. He was always the philosopher of the group, wasn't he? The one who felt more than he ever said. The one who reminded us that stillness was not stagnation, it was healing. Jungkook's name, rewritten in another sky. Across the ocean, Jungkook's footprints started forming a pattern in Los Angeles. People whispered of him working with Western producers, not for fame but for freedom. They said his next album wouldn't follow trends, but break them. A quiet rebellion in chords and harmonies. Some say he's recording under another name, others say he's mentoring indie artists who grew up watching him. But what no one can deny is this. The boy who once stood center stage beneath thunderous applause now walks empty alleys in a foreign city, not lost but lighter. Because sometimes the only way to find yourself is to get far enough away that no one else can finish your sentences. The love that doesn't need a label. Fans started noticing something strange. No matter how far they drifted, Taehyung and Jungkook's lives still mirrored each other. When Jungkook posted a song without lyrics, Taehyung uploaded a photo without a caption. When Taehyung was seen at an art museum, Jungkook shared a sketch of a faceless silhouette. Not coordinated. Not staged, but connected, like a story being told in two voices on opposite sides of the world. Was it coincidence? Was it friendship? Was it something we were never meant to name, only feel? When silence becomes a language. By late July, fans no longer asked when they'd come back. Instead, they asked, "Are they okay?" And maybe that's the kind of fandom BTS built. Point one that grew out of music, but stayed because of humanity. Point one that didn't demand constant content, but chose instead to protect the quiet as fiercely as they once protected the noise. Because in a world that consumes idols until they break, Taehyung and Jungkook chose to protect something else. Their wholeness, their soul, their right to simply exist. This is not the end. This is the chapter with no title. And so maybe we shouldn't call this a disappearance. maybe it's not an exit, but a return to something deeper. To the people they were before the world gave them microphones. To the hearts that still write songs, even when they're not sung. Maybe we're watching two stars take a breath. Maybe we're witnessing love that doesn't need to prove itself anymore. No curtain call. No encore. Just the quiet glow of something that refuses to die, even when it sleeps. Because legends don't fall. They just go quiet when the world has been too loud. And when they rise again, if they do, it won't be to reclaim the spotlight. It will be because they miss the music. Not the fame, not the fans, just the truth of it all.